All right, following the massive rally in Deep Blue, New Jersey, Saturday night, a new set of swing state polls conducted by the New York Times released yesterday. Well, it spells even more trouble for Biden. According to this survey, Trump is ahead by 7 in Arizona, 10 in Georgia, 7 in Michigan, 12 in Nevada, and 3 in Pennsylvania. These are all states Joe Biden won in 2020. And now, according to this new poll, well, most of them are not even close. But Trump isn't content there. Apparently and reportedly now has said that he's going to compete in deep blue states like New York and New Jersey. But recent polls show he may be right. Look at this. Remember, in 2020, Trump lost the state of New Jersey by 16 points and New York by 23 points. Well, anyway, if you look at New Jersey, he's now picked up 13 points. In New York, he picked up 13 points and 11 in New Jersey. That's a double-digit swing. This poll from Emerson College found him down just 7 points in New Jersey, and the new Siena poll last month showed Biden's lead in New York just down to 10. Can he win? I don't know, but it's certainly fun to look at. Anyway, Biden is allegedly in complete denial about polling and the polling crisis he's facing, as sources now say neither he nor his advisors, they don't believe these numbers that they're seeing. If you look at his recent struggles, well, it's kind of easy to understand why he's faltering. You take a look at your very weak, frail, cognitively struggling mess of a president just earlier tonight. You can't make it up. During today's press briefing, Peter Doocy grilled Karine Jean-Pierre on Biden's disastrous poll numbers. Let's take a look.
Why do you think Americans are so down on President Biden right now?
What do you mean?
I know you don't like to talk about polls like the 516 swing states that he is losing right now to somebody who is a criminal defendant. But more broadly, it doesn't seem like anything you guys are doing is making him more popular. Why do you think that is? I get that you understand that people are hurting right now. Why is it that nothing you're doing to address their concerns is working?
What I'm saying is we're going to continue to do the work. I can't speak to the polls, right? Those are for folks who are experts who can do a deep dive and look into that and speak to them.
I have no answer. There you go. Meanwhile, as Trump spent yet another day stuck in a New York City courtroom for a sham trial, the former president's allies joined him and rallied to his defense, while the left can barely contain their excitement over this latest Trump witch hunt. Now, Democrats should be careful what they wish for. Remember Bill Clinton? Remember they impeached him in 1998? Remember what happened to his approval rating? Yeah, it went up from the mid-60s to the low 70s. Here with reaction, former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. He was with President Trump in the courtroom today. If you look at the Russia hoax, impeachment 1, impeachment 2, the January 6, all the exculpatory information withheld in their Hollywood primetime extravaganza they put on before the nation, now missing documents, which is interesting. And all these indictments and all these arraignments, what happens? Donald Trump's numbers go up. Look at what happened with Bill Clinton. How do you interpret that?
Well, look, I think the American people understand, Sean, that this is not some usual election about the tax rate being 1% higher or 1% lower. This is about the basic rules of the road. And I think many Democrats and many independents across this country understand, watching this trial, that this is a political sham. And if our justice system is politicized, we don't have a country left. And so I think many Americans understand the urgency of that. To say that I don't care what your partisan affiliation is, our justice system should not be politicized. That's what I saw in that courtroom tonight. I think that's what Americans across this country see. I'll tell you, I was riding the streets of New York City. I was riding with President Trump back uptown. The throngs of people standing on that street. Having lived in Manhattan at an earlier stage in my life, I could never imagine seeing something like that as we're seeing today. This sets up for potentially a major victory this November, Sean. And not only is that good because it'll put President Trump back in the White House and win Senate majorities and House majorities, but it will also unite this country to say once and for all, we are a nation that believes in free speech, that believes in equal rights in a justice system. We might debate on tax rates in the future, but this is about the foundational rules of the road, and that's what many Americans see.
I think they overreached, and I think it's backfiring. Let's get your thoughts on what you saw in the courtroom today.
Well, what I saw in the courtroom is, first of all, that is one of the most depressing places I have been. The only thing more depressing than the atmosphere of that courtroom is the content of what's happening inside of it. Now, coming into today, Sean, one of the open questions that nobody has answered is what exactly is the crime that Donald J. Trump committed that he's being prosecuted for? Nobody could give a clear answer to that question. After today's testimony from Michael Cohen, that answer to that question is less clear than it has ever been. You want to talk about falsifying business records? Michael Cohen says he did so. There is no evidence of any crime committed by Donald Trump. Now, if you look at the prosecution's entire theory of the case, think about this. They're claiming that he should have used campaign funds for a personal payment. Had he done that, they would be prosecuting him for that. So they were going to get him going or they were going to get him coming. And that is the best proof that this is a politicized persecution. Think about this, Sean. One of the things they pressed Michael Cohen on is whether or not this was to advance voters' impressions of Donald Trump. Well, many politicians buy a better suit. Many politicians go get a haircut. They use their personal funds to do those things. In fact, they have even pressed charges against candidates for using campaign funds illegally. So if Donald Trump would have done the exact opposite thing and still been charged for it, that proves this whole thing is a sham. And I think that this case is done. I think Judge Merchan should deliver a directed verdict to the jury to end this trial and restore some trust in our judicial system. That's where we are today. And I do think that being there in person, I sensed some skepticism looking at the people in that room. And I am hopeful that's going to lead to the right outcome in this case.
There's no way that directed verdict is coming. No way. But you take confidence in this, and we just showed the tape of Joe Biden waving at nobody and barely able to walk. But he's going to be delivering, an economic speech about Bidenomics and having fundraisers with George Clooney, Julia Roberts, and hoping that they and Obama and the Clintons can save his campaign. Can they?
No, and here's the economic speech that he should be giving, right? Because Americans understand this. Prices have gone up, interest rates and mortgage rates have gone up, but wages have remained flat. That's the honest economic speech he should deliver. So no, a bunch of Hollywood celebrities are not going to be able to save him from the actual plight of Americans across this country who understand and demand the truth. And that's what Donald Trump and our party is going to give him.
That's something that'll never happen, but you're right. All right, Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.